Thousands of people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 309 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network and the Alternative Football Network. Ryan and Adam here with you tonight, and no, sadly, we are not the Grey Cup halftime show, as it was officially announced this evening. I thought we were in the running, being here in Winnipeg, 3 of 4 members in Winnipeg, but apparently not. Apparently we lost the bid to Machine Gun Kelly. But we're here tonight to preview Week 20 in the CFL, which might be a better show anyways than the halftime show will be. I'm just kidding. I have no hate for Machine Gun Kelly. All I have is a lot of love for fantasy football and betting talk here and CFL in general talk, which is what we're going to do tonight. And I always enjoy a good time chatting with one Adam Stewart. Adam, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing real well. Yeah, real exciting news about Machine Gun Kelly. I took that a whole different way when I heard it was with Winnipeg Blue Bombers putting on Machine Gun Kelly. We'll leave it at that. Anyways, no, exciting to get talking to hear about fantasy, especially because I've got to go and prepare for a finals we'll be talking about later on in the episode. So, hey, if you got suggestions or anything else when we're talking fantasy, put them in the chat. I'll be definitely reading them because I need all the help I can get.
Yeah, we've got your lineup news and notes this week. Might be a little beefier than normal because we've got teams resting players. We've got teams in interesting situations this week. So we'll go through all of those at the start of the show. We'll draft our Week 20 CFL fantasy lineups, and then we'll make our betting picks against the spread and the over-under in the latter half of the show tonight. We will also take your comments and questions live for anybody joining us live. You can send them in through the live chats there, and that's thanks to presenting sponsor Game Time TV. You can learn more at GameTimeTV.ca or Facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. As always, we want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples in the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. Check out our Discord community as well. Links in the episode description. We haven't gotten new members in a little bit, so now's your chance. Come on in, join the fun, stretch drive of the fantasy season, the betting season, the regular season, the CFL, and into playoff mode. So lots going on in the Canadian Football Countdown Discord community. You can watch me learn how baseball works. That's always fun to do there as well. And yeah, lots of great discussion. Links in the episode description. It's free to join us in the Discord. Before we get into the lineup news and notes to kick things off here, not only is it a big week for the CFL with the announcement of the Grey Cup halftime show, it's a big week for the Canadian Football Countdown, Adam, as you and I are going to meet in person in a couple of days for the first time ever.
Absolutely. So I kind of got to go to Winnipeg anyways this week, and more conveniently enough, there's actually a good football game on Friday Night Football, and just so happened that it worked out to be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So I said, why not? I got to go down and see these guys eventually, and see if Ryan is really as tall as they claim he is, and if Mike is as crazy as they all claim he is. I mean, sorry, Mike, I'll help you. I've met Trey before because he was at Grey Cup, of course, when Saskatchewan hosted at that time. So I met Trey then. So, it's kind of exciting. Get to go and tour down to Winnipeg tomorrow and catch a football game, and then get to meet Ryan and Trey and Mike and everybody else from the Canadian Football Countdown. Well, I guess that's it.
So, that's it. Yeah, there is nobody else.
There's nobody else unless somebody else is meeting us there from our Discord channel. But I don't think there really will be. So, you know what? Still, pretty exciting times. Definitely looking forward to it. So,
if they can figure out what restaurant we are at without us mentioning it and show up, kudos to them.
Somebody figure it out. I'll buy you brunch or dinner.
Yeah, there's your hint. It's brunch. There's only so many brunch spots in the city, but yeah, looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, Adam. I've seen Trey a few times before, only at Princess Auto Stadium. This will be my first time seeing Trey in the wild. Haven't seen Mike in person in a couple of years, maybe once or twice in the last couple of years. And yeah, I've never met Adam. So, look forward to the Canadian Football Countdown.
I'm not sure, Ryan, but I think I have to bring looks like our private fantasy league. We'll talk about that later, but
bring me the crown. Bring me the crown.
Bring the crown.
Yeah, bring me the crown, Adam. That's what I was thinking as well. That can be my coronation ceremony. anyways, looking forward to that. And he has it right there. He's got it in the waiting. Keep it while you can, because I doubt you're winning this year. I think you muted yourself in the process of showing the crown there, Adam.
I did. Yes, I did.
Well done. Great start. All right. Week 20 CFL lineup news and notes. Yeah, this is an interesting week for CFL fantasy. And I mean, really anything CFL related. Big matchups in the standings. And one team that could care the less about any of that is the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who have already locked up. They fully locked up first place in the West, right? Adam, you sent the times. You sent the timestamps in the live chat again.
Hey, I'm so excited about tomorrow. I'm already making mistakes. Anyway, the Rough Riders are officially clinched first place. They can't do any less. So to them, this game here is literally a road trip to Winnipeg, take the big guys out to the buffet, and have a good time, essentially, because they are not playing pretty well, almost anybody of note. Yes, Keon Schaefer-Baker, he's a backup to Ajo. You've got Sean Bain Jr. He's going to be dressing in this one here as a starter. Trevor Harris and Corey Mace are currently duking it out to see if he's even allowed near the field. To me, I think he should be allowed on the field only if he goes and wraps himself in bubble wrap and is sitting in about the 600 deck of Investors Group field. That's the only way he's allowed near the stadium.
Not even allowed in Princess Auto Stadium. Just the old. You can only go find Investors Group field if you're Trevor Harris.
Yep, exactly. That's the point. Anyways, no, honestly, like I said, who else is there? Micah Johnson sitting out. Keyshawn Johnson is sitting out. He's injured, I guess.
Marcus Sales is out. AJ Ouellette, Jamarcus Hardrick. So your starting lineup for the Saskatchewan Roughriders on the offensive side of the ball is Jake Mayer starting at quarterback, Mario Anderson Jr. at running back with Thomas Bertrand-Hudon as the backup. I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them get some reps in there as well. I'm a little surprised they don't give it to TBH because he's been such a workhorse when he's been in the lineup. But correct me if I'm wrong, I think he plays pretty well on special teams, so I have a feeling maybe they want to rest him for that, whereas Mario Anderson's got that juice that he can, find some holes and make some plays there on offense. And at wide receiver, Joe Robustelli moves out to left wide out. Ajo left slot back with Schaefer-Baker backing him up. Tommy Neal keeps a spot at middle slot, what I call middle slot back. Mitchell Picton backing him up. That's pretty standard. Del Duncan Busby started a number of games, gets back in there at right slot. And then Sean Bain Jr., the start at right wide out. So, you look at all of these guys resting for the Riders, and we're going to get into this with betting later too. This is still a legitimate starting lineup that the Saskatchewan Roughriders are fielding this week. Like, this is not rest everybody. This is practice roster guys that the Bombers are facing in a must-win game. I think from a fantasy perspective, there are some Saskatchewan guys that might find their way into your lineup, and reasonably so this week. Like guys like Ajo are $4,000 and in a starting role. Joe Robustelli got a little bit more expensive, but he was super clutch for you last week, Adam, in your lineup. I think he was the third or fourth highest scoring receiver in the game last week. And then, the starting running backs are dirt cheap for the Riders here as well. So interesting lineup for Saskatchewan. Defensive backfield, they're getting Tavon Campbell back in. That's huge for them there. Still a couple of guys missing. Marcus Sales going out, so you kind of trade one for the other there a little bit. But I don't know if it's going to be an absolute field day for the Bombers picking on them. On the Winnipeg side of the injury news and notes, it is Nick Dembski is out this week after leaving last week's game. Gavin Cobb comes into the lineup into his starting spot at middle slot back. Carrick Wheatfall gets back into the lineup at right slot back and replacing Dylan Mitchell. And interestingly, that's the first time I think ever we're going to see Carrick Wheatfall at slot back. So Ontario Wilson has taken where he started earlier this year, essentially in the Bombers' offensive lineup there. I had another thought on that, but I don't remember what it is at this point in time.
Yeah, no. The Rough Riders, again, you're right. There's a lot of cheap plays if you really need them. I wouldn't be very surprised. You know what? This is the ultimate trap game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers again. And you know why? Every time that they're expected to crush a team because they're doesn't have their starting quarterback, or they don't have this, or they don't have that, just look at the Grey Cups. They were expected to absolutely wipe the floor with Nick Arbuckle and the Argonauts. The Argonauts end up crushing them. So
there's a reason that everybody is so high on Cameron Dukes still, even though he came in as the fourth quarterback for Montreal, never saw some playing time really, and got released by them again. And that's because he came into a meaningless game for the Argos against Winnipeg, who needed everything at home 2 years ago. And yeah, the Bombers still won, but everybody expected them to blow them out, and they gave them quite the fits. So yeah, it's not a cakewalk, definitely. And so I think this is an interesting game from a fantasy perspective in that regard. A second game of the week, Friday night doubleheader, is Edmonton visits BC once again. Always fun when the Elks visit the Lions. BC's back off the bye. Last week, by the way, an absolutely atrocious week of CFL fantasy. We're talking, 3 or 4 players that passed 20 points on the week, I think. We had Trevor Harris was the only quarterback over 20 points.
That's pretty much all you need to know about last week. Trevor Harris was the guy that got over 20 points.
Mills, Oliveira, William Stanback, and Justin Rankin all passed 20 at running back. And then the only wide receivers were Kenny Lawler and Sam Emilus to score over 20 points. That sums up your week last week. And I think it's no coincidence that one of the most atrocious weeks of CFL fantasy came on a week when the BC Lions were on bye. So good news, everybody. The Lions are playing this week, which means it's a glorious day for everybody's fantasy lineups. And BC's getting a little healthy, actually. Justin McInnes was on the injury report, but he's available, good to go. They're getting their 2 top offensive linemen and Dijon Allen and Jarrell Broxton back. So imagine more time for Nathan Rourke back there on what's already been actually a pretty good offensive line for them this year. And Gary Peters back in the defensive backfield for them as well. Edmonton's injury report has been pretty thin, actually, for most of this year. Just some question marks on the defensive side of the ball. Nick Anderson, the most notable there, is questionable for this game. Montreal, Ottawa, the rematch from last week on Saturday. James Letcher Jr. out for Montreal. That means somebody else is going to be handling kick returns. Honestly, I saw Tyson Philpott doing some of that early last week, which I didn't like that as a Tyson Philpott fantasy manager because that return yards don't count. And that ended up just, I'm like, what if he gets injured on these returns? You don't have anybody else on the roster that can do this instead. So it remains to be seen who is going to be handling return duties. Maybe it's Philpott again for the Alouettes.
And with the Philpott thing about him returning yards, if he starts doing returns, he gets a lot less receptions and got a lot less targets. That's essentially what won me the week last week, because the guy that took against me, Greg on Sports, he took Philpott, and you know what? He didn't have the yardage like he usually does. So yeah, that definitely helped me.
Yeah, for sure. He still got 8 targets, I think, last week, but certainly you're going to, if he breaks a long return, maybe he's not immediately the big deep threat target the game after, or the series after. Ottawa side is a little bit interesting. We're finally seeing Tyree Adams start at quarterback for the Red Blacks for the first time in 2 or 3 years. I think 2023 was the last time. And that is because Dustin Crum is out with a head injury. Drew Brown is still out as well. What do you think about Tyree Adams starting at QB this week?
Well, it's a cheap play if you like it, but I don't. Honestly, I've never seen film. I haven't seen anything on him. Maybe that's turning into an advantage, but let's face it. Everybody has seen what Richie Hall. Man, I'm having a day today. Bobby Dice does with his offense. It's nickel and dime you and hope he gets enough to make a touchdown out of it sometime. And if he does that the same way as he's done that with Dustin Crum, and also, like I said, there's no chance that he's going to probably have of getting a decent look. And it's that, really. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Rick Campbell can step in the middle of this and let Tyree Adams throw the football. I don't know.
I hate to burst everybody's bubble that was looking for the $5,000 starting quarterback play. Tyree Adams is not available in CFL fantasy. I know, it's crushing. But don't worry, you can pick Harrison Frost, who hasn't been on the Ticats roster in weeks, I believe, as Adam just throws stuff at his screen. Yeah, there goes.
Challenge flag.
Oh, nice. Challenge flag. Yeah, Tyree Adams is not available. Maybe they'll add him. I really don't think anybody at the Genius Sports office is looking at anything CFL related in week 20, to be fair, with all the other sports going on. So I would not expect it. Who gets added first, Tyree Adams or Benjamin Victor, who's been a starting receiver for the Elks the entire season? Gotta love it.
Do better.
But in general, talking about Tyree Adams in general, though, outside of picking him in game zone fantasy, because he might show up in other fantasy games as well, when you're talking about the betting aspect of this game, I do believe there is something potentially there with Adams. Like, you don't keep a guy around on your roster for 3-4 years that he's kind of been there without actually trying to give him a bit of a shot at some point. Like, I'm surprised it's taken this long. And I kind of think about it the same way I saw Davis Alexander initially in Montreal, where, this is a guy that's just been doing his time with the team. And if he gets a chance one day, he could break out and be a good player. To be fair, I thought that about Davis Alexander. I also thought that about James Morgan, who'd been with the Alouettes for a couple of years and did not turn out well this year. So we really don't know what we're going to get from Tyree Adams. All I want to see, though, in this rematch is, can they get their big three receivers involved? Because I think I put the stat out in the Discord that Braylon Addison, Eugene Lewis, and Justin Hardy combined for like 3 catches for 13 yards or something like that last week. And William Stanback and Marco Dubois, who got ejected, were the 2 leading receivers, I believe, for the Red Blacks. Cleo Pimpleton might have been in there.
With those kind of yardage, you would think that they had Chris Trevler throwing to him.
Exactly. Maybe they learned something from that Chris Trevler game, that you can win a game without targeting your top receivers. Who knew?
Seriously, find a coach already. But Ottawa, just get it over with.
Final game of the week, Toronto, Calgary. Again, Toronto doesn't have a whole lot to play for at this point. Their injury report is quite long. And just trying to dissect everything through it here. I haven't seen any news yet. Do you know who's starting at quarterback this week for the Argos? I feel like it's been a lot of hush-hush. I know Jarrett Daggy started last week, but I thought he got injured at some point. And then Tucker Horn came in, but Daggy finished the game. A couple weeks ago, Ryan Dinwiddie went and said that Daggy was going to start the first game where Arbuckle was out, but then that Tucker Horn would see some playing time before the season ended. Well, Toronto's on a bye in week 21. So if he's going to see some time, it's got to be this week, unless they count that 2 series that Daggy was injured last week, which is why I picked up Tucker Horn in our private draft league that ends this week to make sure I potentially have a starter. But until we see that depth chart coming out on Friday, we're recording this Thursday night. We don't have the depth chart yet. Hard to say who's going to be QB for the Argos and what split we're going to see. Is it going to be a 50-50 split? So potentially not a reliable QB option for you in that game either, regardless of what the depth chart shows. Defense is banged up. Anthony Lanier, Winton McManus, those guys are all out. DeMonte Coxey, DeVaris Daniels still out at wide receiver for the Argos as well. And on the Calgary side, wow, their injury report takes up almost my entire screen for the Calgary Stampeders, whereas you have teams like Edmonton with only 5 guys on there. Calgary's got about 30, and that's a lot to dissect through. So let's take a look at the fantasy notables from that at least. Eric Brooks has been a pretty solid wide receiver for them this year. He was their leading receiver last week. He is available despite 2 days of not practicing this week. Malik Henry is considered available. Marked on the injury report is load management. We have not seen him make the roster yet, despite couple weeks in a row of full practice. Newly acquired Lorenzo Malden on the defensive line is questionable. Jalen Philpott's good to go after being limited in practice this week. And most notably on the defensive backfield, Damon Webb still out there for the Stampeders with a pectoral injury. Those are your lineup news and notes. Anything else you can think of to discuss there, Adam, before we get into drafting our lineups?
No, I got nothing else. I'm about to do something really fun on our private fantasy league. And at the end of the night, you're probably going to have a good laugh when you see what I do. So
anyway. I can't wait to see what that is, unless it makes me angry, in which case I don't want to see what it is.
Yeah, no, I think I can do this.
Are you trying to screw me over here, Adam?
No. Well, maybe a little, but no.
It's okay. I got Jake Mayer playing Friday night. It's all I need. I will take all of those 6-yard passes to the victory.
Yeah, no, I would do it. Why not? You'll get all 6 yards of that. Now, you know what? Honestly, that if there's a trap game, that might be the trap game of the week.
I think so. All right, let's do it. Let's draft lineups. We're going to draft from CFL Game Zone available players, $70,000 budget, draft your defense, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and flex. 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. I got distracted because Adam started sending in his waiver moves. But those are the guys we are picking in this draft. And once again, just as the last couple of weeks, let's do a duck race to decide which of us picks first in this week's draft. I've got a nice blue, yellow, and red duck. Adam's duck's got a top hat on it and is out to an early lead in his 20-second race.
He's a classy duck.
He is a classy duck.
I'm worried about that pinata-looking duck, though. There comes that pinata-looking duck.
There comes Ryan.
And he passes him.
And once again, for the second week in a row, Team Ryan's going to draft first. Let me get that tab set up for us here. Going back to last week, in the meantime, I narrowly beat Adam in last week's draft with 79.6 points for myself, 74.5.4 for Adam. Yeah, it sucked for all of us. I guess paying up for the big defense ended up working out for me with the 4 points I got from the Riders defense to -1 you got from Ottawa. But Levi Mitchell, Ontario Wilson were my big players, Davis Alexander and Brady Oliveira for Team Adam. All right, this brings us to this week's lineup, week 20, picking our teams. Again, whoever starts off the round in the snake draft, the other person must pick the same position to keep things in order. And, well, I think you know what's about to happen, Adam, as I kick off this draft.
I'm certain that you are going to pick up Tyree Adams of the Ottawa Red Blacks, correct?
Well, I would have, but he's not available, so I guess I'll just settle for Nathan Rourke of the best offense in CFL history at $15,000 as my QB for this week. I'm so happy I won the duck race because in the 6 weeks we've done this, the team with the best captain has scored the highest every single time. And I fully believe that Nathan Rourke against the Edmonton Elks, who are the team he plays the best against in his career, will absolutely light it up this week coming off the bye in 2 games earlier this year. His performances weren't as insane as I thought this year. 29.4 in week 1, 19.8 only in week 6 for Rourke against the Elks. But this is a Lions team at home against an Edmonton team that for years, one of the only things that I've tweeted from my personal account is a running tally of the combined score between BC and Edmonton in their matchups, and it's not absent. It's not anywhere close. Rourke has been averaging 25.7 points a game on the year and 31.9 in his last 3 games. He's been the number 1 QB in the CFL fantasy in 3 straight starts. I don't see any reason not to put Nathan Rourke in the lineup. And as I was reflecting on my fantasy season earlier today, I realized I would have done much better if I would have just played Nathan Rourke every single week.
Yeah, can't argue that one there. I mean, Nathan Rourke, of course, is one of the best picks other than Tyree Adams if you could pick him. But I guess if you can't, you may as well stick with Nathan Rourke.
And he's my captain. We'll just get that out of the way.
Well, yeah, I may as well, because we all know that's what you have to do. And that's why the captain part sucks, because honestly, what else do? You always pick a quarterback as your captain, essentially. I don't think there's a single time this year that I had somebody else other than my quarterback as my captain. I'm going to go with the next best quarterback available. And I mean that in the way he played last week, he played extremely well versus the Ottawa Red Blacks. Give me Davis Alexander. I think he's a really good pickup. $15,000 is a really good price. Also, you know what? He's done really well. He had a good game against Ottawa. He's got to have another big game to go and draw even with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and make this a one-game series essentially to possibly get first place still in the East. That's not done and settled in yet. So he's playing for a lot. Definitely going to be looking forward to seeing Davis Alexander play. And you may as well mark him down also as my captain because that's obvious. I'm going to do the same thing.
Makes total sense. Yeah, if I'm looking at any other quarterback besides Nathan Rourke, Dustin Crum's not available. Bo Levi Mitchell's not available because he's on a bye. Like Davis Alexander is probably the option that I'm looking at in there. You can go the discount plays. I mean, Jake Mayer is 5,500 as a starter. You could do that. I don't think you'd expect. I'm not expecting a high fantasy total from him based on what we've seen in recent years. Jared Daggy's 5,000. So you could do that. You could stack elsewhere in your lineup. But to me, it's almost not worth the discounts. I think there are some good discounts you can get at other positions. So I like the Davis Alexander play here as well. And you kick us off in round number 2. What position are we going to next?
Oh, this is a tough one because I usually would take my more expensive wide receiver here because I'm sure you want to do a stack of a certain team. And you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Keon Hatcher for the BC Lions. Has had some amazing games against the Edmonton Elks. Should have another amazing game against the Edmonton Elks. Nothing pointing towards the opposite of that. Definitely, I'm going to go, with what do you call Hatcher as well in this play, and hopefully gets me some good points. I can't see why he couldn't, to be honest with you, but we'll go from there.
Yeah, you took my next pick off the board. It was absolutely going to be Keon Hatcher to get the stack. Going through, and I got to shout out No Good Noverby from the Discord who went through, brought up this suggestion earlier today in the community of looking back at which players you have played all year. And surprisingly, I've only started a BC receiver 6 times this season, which shows I haven't really been trying to do the stack. And I think that's been one of my downfalls and why I'm not in the finals in some of these fantasy leagues that we've been playing in, is that I haven't been stacking those BC receivers. So you took the one I wanted, obviously, in Keon Hatcher, but that doesn't mean I can't still do a BC receiver stack. And I'm going to go with Justin McInnes for my wide receiver pick at 15,000 here as well. They're kind of interchangeable. I like Hatcher's target share a little bit more. I like the positional matchup, I think, for Justin McInnes is a pretty nice one as well. Both of them are actually very good against the Edmonton Elks. So, give me Justin McInnes. I think he is a little more boom or bust, but he seems to be a solid red zone target. And if Rourke is going to put up as good of a game as Nathan Rourke can, McInnes should be a target involved in that. His last 5 games, number 1, 15, 1, 7, 13. So he's hovering around that top 10 mark with 2 top 1 finishes. I like the Justin McInnes play here as much as I would have preferred the one I can't have, which is Keon Hatcher. So thanks for that, Adam. All right, then we go back to me here to kick off round number 3. And I honestly haven't done a lot of tinkering with my lineup this week. Busy week with everything going on. So I generally kind of leave it to showtime to try to figure out my lineup a little bit on the fly. I think that's fun for me to do. I'm going to go back to the bread and butter at running back that I have almost every week because he delivers value for the price almost every week, and that's Spencer Brown at $6,000 of the Toronto Argonauts to kick off the running backs here. He really doesn't get carries. He has I'm just trying to find his stats here and pull them up. In his last 4 games, he has max 8 carries, but he also has 3 catches, 7 catches, 5 catches, 3 catches. And at $6,000 price, he's going to get enough volume through the air that he's going to give you a productive fantasy day that you don't mind taking that discount in your lineup. Over to you, Adam.
Yeah, I think he's a great pickup, Spencer Brown. I think if you can put him into your roster, I mean, you're obviously going to be doing pretty good. And Calgary, they've been looking better since the injury in their defensive lineman. But, Lorenzo Malden has been a good pickup into that spot. But you know what, Spencer Brown, you're right. He beats you in different ways. I think it's a good pickup if you need him for the Argonauts. I'm going to take my, seeing as I got 2 picks in a row right away here, I'm going to take one of my expensive running backs, and then I'm going to take my very reasonable running back. And oddly enough, they're playing against each other. So I'm going to take Brady Oliveira for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's cold enough now, and it's going to be a rainy day in Winnipeg by the looks of things tomorrow, if I read the forecast correctly. And that means it's running time. So Brady Oliveira is usually a pretty sure-handed guy, and I think he kind of knows how to run a football okay. So, you know what? Honestly, I think it's a great pickup. It's expensive. Don't get me wrong. I've got a lot of very expensive players on my team, if you look. But that being said, I've got some very cheap players that I've got coming up. And the first one is going to be maybe a little bit of a shock. I know you talked about him earlier and his, backup that plays a lot of special teams. But boy, you know, when he was on the field, he was a little bit special when he was before he got injured. Give me Mario Anderson Jr. for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I expect him to get a lot of runs tomorrow because the Riders, it's not about beating the Bombers. It's about beating the clock and trying to just burn the clock. They do not want any more injuries than what they have already.
That's true.
And this means that they're going to try to run the football. They want to see a little bit of what Washington, who's just returning for the Rough Riders, has in them to be ready for the playoffs. And I guarantee you that you're going to see a lot of Mario Anderson Jr. or you're going to see a lot of Thomas Bertrand Houdon. So you're going to see one of the two. But I think you're going to see more Mario Anderson than you think. So yeah, give me that pick and take $2,500. How can I go wrong?
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense to get that discount there. A little bit concerned that Houdon might take some of the reps, but that 2,500, 3.8 points, I think, gets my definition of value out of it. And Mario Anderson should be able to get that. Heck, he got 2 touchdowns against Bombers last time out. So I like those picks for you. I got to round out my running backs here. I went for a cheaper one, so I'll go more expensive, and I'm going to go with Justin Rankin once again at $15,000 as my second running back. So that leaves not a lot of money for my last 3 picks of the day, but I'll sort that out later. Actually, I think we're at almost the same amount of money left. I guess I picked Spencer Brown, which was a little bit more. But Justin Rankin has finished with 19.8 plus points in 4 straight, 3 of his last 4 of his last 5 games. So, and like 6 of his last 8 or something like that. He's been pretty solid and one of the highest scoring running backs on the season. 18 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown last week for him. He gets a couple of reps through the air. I also think BC is a team that you can beat on the ground a little bit. So if Edmonton is going to somehow keep their playoff hopes alive this week, they're going to have to lean on Justin Rankin to do it for them.
Yep. Yeah, Justin Rankin, I mean, again, he's been a lot less boom or bust lately. He's been more boom than it is bust overall. Again, getting some plays out of the backfield, but more running now. And he seems to run hard and harder since he got that 2-year extension. So, no, I like the pickup of Rankin. If you can justify the $15,000, my thing on him was the BC Lions have been just absolutely dominant when they play at home against Edmonton for the last how many years? Not just months or just not the last few games. It's been years since Edmonton has won that game in BC. And if they get down early, how much are they going to run Justin Rankin is my biggest concern.
That's true, but how much are they going to dump the ball off to him in that case, as he's probably the best receiver on the team right now? Yep. And yes, I get the argument. I made the same argument earlier about Edmonton versus BC. I would argue this Edmonton team, since Fajardo has taken over, is a different Edmonton team than we've seen at all in the last 3 or 4 years for them. This is a team that's well-run, well-composed, has been playing some pretty good football down the stretch, and definitely the best football they've played in years. So I don't know if it's as much of a cakewalk. That defense has been locking in pretty well for Edmonton. We'll see which one's going to break. I have a feeling I know, but we'll see which one's going to break when it comes to game time this week. All right, I'll kick us off for the next round here. And I got $19,000. I got to get a wide receiver, a flex, and a defense yet. I have a couple of different ways I want to go here. I'm going to take a value play at receiver here and then see where this takes us from that. I don't have a ton of confidence that Jake Mayer is going to light it up, certainly in this game, but I think there are some value plays available with him as a starting quarterback and all of the guys resting at receiver. So give me a Joe at $4,000. I think $4,000 is a beautiful price to take a chance on a guy that just came back from the NFL and is somebody they are clearly hyped up about. And he's had middling success since he's returned to the team from his NFL stint. He had one game where he absolutely lit it up with, he had 11 targets, 8 catches, 9 targets, 5 catches. Last week, he was into a backup role and only had 1 target and 1 catch. Now there aren't as many mouths to feed in that offense, so I think if they do pass the ball, he's going to get his hands on it, and a couple of plays from him, he can make defenders miss, and that's going to lead to a successful day at his price.
Absolutely. I think you're dead on there. Am I muted? No, I'm not. Anyways, Joe is the guy that I've definitely got on my roster this week. I really want him because there's some big pieces that they need to get, and that's one of them that I think the Rough Riders need to get going for the remainder of this season, especially against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He's going to be a big piece of that. So that really messed me up a little bit because I had him planned out and I had this kind of lined up in my head, but that means I got to go with somebody else that, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are trying to get going as well. And they had some success with him earlier in the season, then all of a sudden he petered off. And now he's coming back. Maybe it's because of injury. Maybe it's just because he was not very good for a while there. Give me Kevin Clercius of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I think for a value play, he's not bad. I do like him. He's a little more than I would like to spend. Honestly, a Joe is the best deal you could possibly get, I think, for a player like that. Kevin Clercius is good. He's not a Joe, but hey, I still got to keep within a budget of some sort. So, yeah, I'll go with Clercius on this one here. I'm going to go next onto this one, or do you want anything about Clercius?
Let's see. Kevin Clercius. Yeah, he's had a couple weeks this season where he's been solid. He's good for like 2 to 3 targets a game. He's been on the quieter end. Maybe he picks up a few more with Nick Dembski out this week, but Carrick Wheatfall also comes back in. So not my favorite value play, Kevin Clercius. I would probably go, if you're looking around that price, I'd probably go like Barry Hill at 5,000, Del Duncan Busby at 4,900. Potentially Damian Alford, if he gets in the lineup due to some of the question marks at receiver for Calgary, would be more so guys I would be looking at in that position. But I've also considered Clercius at times myself as well.
Yeah, and you're right. Damian Alford's the one I'm kind of keeping an eye on just to see what comes out for the depth chart for the Calgary Stampeders, and that could be a change because, like I said, that's probably a better deal than I could see in Kevin Clercius. The reason I'm not signing or going any higher than 4,200 is a reason there, but I'm going to go with my defense next, and I'm just going to hope that you don't take my flex play. And I don't think you can because I don't think you can afford it. So I think I worked you into the right moves on this one here this week. Give me the Ottawa Redblacks defense. And do you know why I picked the Ottawa Redblacks defense? There's only one reason. They're the cheapest. I can play them. Good enough. They're done. Who cares? Whatever. I know as long as I don't get negative out of Ottawa, I'm happy. That's the only reason I've got with Ottawa. I'm sorry, but there's no other good reason to pick Ottawa.
Well, you got the negative out of them last week, and that might have cost you the matchup. So, but yeah, I think that's reasonable. Generally don't spend up too much at the defensive side of the ball because it's not that fruitful for your lineup to do so. So I think that is a reasonable decision to take Ottawa defense there. That is the cheapest one. Now I have to look at a couple of different options here, and I'm trying to see if I can make it work for the guy I really would like to put in my lineup because I got a balance. I got a defense and then a flex play here. And can I make this work? I'm just short unless I were to take the Ottawa or the Hamilton defense on a bye, and I'm not going to do that this week. So you know what? Give me the BC defense against Edmonton here at $6,500. I think BC's defense has been one of the top defensive plays over the last number of weeks because Matthew Betts has just been on an absolute tear. And their last 4 games, 15, 8, 8, and 12. At $6,500, I like those numbers for that defense. And Edmonton's offensive line can give up a lot of sacks at a time. So give me the Lions defense. That's a no-brainer for me. That leaves me $8,500 for my flex play, which I'm assuming is not, well, it's definitely not going to be enough for who you have in mind. Not that I'm 100% sure on who that is. I'll discuss a couple options I'm considering here. Jareth Stearns is at 8,300. He's been a solid producer in that Bombers lineup at times. Tommy Neild, but I already have a Joe, so I'm not going to go back-to-back riders here. Joe Robustelli, again, that would be another riders play here at this price. So yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm struggling to find a good player at this price point. And I think that's important to discuss here live on the podcast of struggling to find the guys that match these positions. So give me OJ Hilaire at 7,900 here of the Edmonton Elks. A bit of a shot in the dark here at this price because I don't like stacking 2 receivers from the same team. And he's played 6 games this year, and in 3 of his last 4, he's crossed 10 points. So he's making some plays happen for this Elks team. And if they get down early, they're going to have to pass a lot, like you said earlier, against this BC defense. And maybe a lot of those targets go to Hilaire, who has been developed into one of their most consistent receiving threats on this team.
I get very scared when Ryan starts saying that a Edmonton Elks receiver is very consistent on a team, because he used to say that with Dylan Mitchell, and yeah, we don't want to go there. Anyways, I think Ryan figured out which player I'm really going to go for this week.
I don't know if it did.
You did? No? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's a running back.
Okay, no, I didn't think that's where we were going.
No? Okay. Well, anyways, I'm going to go with a running back. He got one of the higher scores last week, which was great. It was a guy that needed to have some big games, and he's been having big games for the Calgary Stampeders. Give me Dedrick Mills. I think that he will fill out a roster very nicely for me. I think that this is a winning roster. I've almost got this one banked in for almost word for word of what I've got. I'm just watching here. Yep, Richard in the chat guessed it. Honestly, he does everything for Calgary when he needs to. He catches balls from the backfield. He makes big plays in running when he has to. Once the team gets, the other team and the defensive line gets tired, Dedrick Mills just goes on a tear. I like it. I really think that Dedrick Mills is going to have a good game again, and he has to if Calgary wants to keep pace in the West and still have a shot at the West semis to host it, I guess I should say. So yeah, give me Dedrick Mills to finish this one off. And I got just enough left over for gas money to get to Winnipeg and buy a ticket to go to the game.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, my only concern with the Dedrick Mills play is that Toronto has actually been surprisingly good against running backs, maybe because they've been bad against receivers. So teams have just been passing on them a whole lot. And Mills already doesn't get a ton of targets, and teams don't pass to running backs well against the Argos. So that takes it out where, Mills is very good when he he's one of the top running backs when he can get those double touchdown plays. But then a lot of weeks he's, running back 5, running back 6, because he's got that 100 yards rushing, but then might not get a touchdown. So you're getting around that 10 points from him. So that's where I'm a little iffy on Mills, where if you're thinking a running back, I'm prioritizing the Oliveras, the Justin Rankins, etc., over a guy like Dedrick Mills. But I also understand the appeal because he, I think, is the best weapon they have in that offense.
Yeah. Nope, can't argue that one for sure. So,
question in the chat, is Wynton McManus playing this week? No, Wynton McManus is done for the season for the Argos, I believe.
Yeah, he's injured, I think, a knee, I think it was, or there was various ailments, I think, because he's been playing a little bit wounded all season, I think, with McManus. So,
any honorable mentions for you that we haven't talked about already, Adam?
I mean, if you can figure out a way of doing it, if you don't like Dedrick Mills, probably one other option that you could really go with over on receiver is Tyson Philpo. But again, remember that he could be playing as a returner. And if he does, I don't like that play one bit whatsoever. So keep that one in mind. Another one also to keep a look at. Let's see, can I afford him? Yeah, I could also afford him. Tyler Snead would have been a good pickup instead of Mills as well, just because he's been getting lots of receptions and lots of plays for the Montreal Alouettes in their run. So lots of flexibility for me in that flex play, in all honesty. But like I said, there's a few that I would probably look at in those higher end spots. But that being said, there's some really good value plays. Just keep your eye open there. And especially in running back, I say that that's going to be a big pickup is either, again, Thomas Bertrand-Houdon or Mario Anderson. I know that you may split it, but either one is honestly a good pick. I seen Thomas Bertrand-Houdon is $3,500, and he's not a bad play as well. He has been getting some yards, kind of just every so often backing up AJ Ouellette. So overall, I don't mind any of these plays here that we have. Jake Herslow is another one that everybody says, well, why aren't you playing him this week? I'll say this in the dishonorable mentions. Who's the quarterback for the Argonauts? I think that really does matter. And I just can't play a receiver when I don't know who the quarterback is. So, like I said, that's why I did not go with a Jake Herslow or a Dijon Brissett or any of those kind of plays this week.
The one guy I really wanted to fit in my lineup that I was sad I couldn't was Ontario Wilson at $9,000 because in 4 of 5 games he's scored over 12 points, and the only one he scored less was the one where Chris Streveler had 3 completions, which I don't really count that as something against Wilson in that game. And he's had a positive fantasy points over defensive average in every other game, which means he's outscoring his matchup in all of those. I think, if Winnipeg is going to, they're fighting for a playoff spot at this point in time. Like, they're not even locked in necessarily. Edmonton could still technically pass them. So with Nick Dembski out, I think Brady Oliveira becomes receiver number 1, but Ontario Wilson is receiver number 2 for me in this matchup. And I think he can stretch the field potentially there. So I couldn't, if I were to shift and tinker with something here from what you see here listed for my lineup, I would probably shift Ajo out to my flex and maybe downgrade him for one of those riders running backs like Anderson. I couldn't take him because you took him, like Houdon potentially, and then swap Hillier out for Ontario Wilson would be my ideal situation here, or swap the BC defense for the Ottawa defense in order to make that work.
No, that all makes perfect sense. Again, you know what? It's very tough to make a roster without being able to go and change it on the fly and move it around. Again, that's what we have the luxury of doing over in CFL Fantasy. So we can play with it all week long, and then you know what? We perfect it. Just doing this off the cuff, it's pretty challenging. So
it is a challenge. It is a challenge, I have to say, to do this live and still provide hopefully engaging commentary as we try to crunch the numbers and switch picks up on the fly and find stats that are relevant for all of these guys that we don't even know if we're going to have the chance to pick because the other person might pick it. So hopefully folks have enjoyed this segment over the last number of weeks as we work through these. And again, there might be a little hesitation somewhat along the way or going back and forth on a few things. But I think that's probably what a lot of people who play fantasy are going through in their own weekly decisions. So it might be helpful to actually see a little bit of that indecision instead of just straightforward, here's who I want, this is why, etc., etc. Final lineups drafted this week: Nathan Rourke, Spencer Brown, Justin Rankin, Justin McInnes, Ajo, OJ Hillier. BC's defense for myself with Rourke as captain, Davis Alexander as captain, Brady Oliveira, Mario Anderson, Keon Hatcher, Kevin Clorsius, Diedrich Mills, and Ottawa's defense for Team Adam. Let us know in the comments if you're watching live whose roster you like more. Let us know in the Discord or on social media as well. And the Discord went 2-0, or they 2 straight wins for the Discord in predicting correctly last week as they predicted me as the winner. So we'll see if they can get a third. All right, that's our lineup draft for this week. Now let's shift to betting. And once again, not looking forward to this, Adam, because all the betting lines suck this week.
Yep, absolutely. And they're pretty ugly no matter what you look at. So may as well get this over with. Trey did send in the results though from last week, correct?
Yes, he did. Yeah, against the spread last week, you both went 2-2. I went 1-3, which sucks because I had just gotten one game back of 500, but a couple of those games just did not go the way I expected at all. That Ottawa Montreal one, I was so certain with Dustin Crum in the lineup that Ottawa was going to hit that plus 13.5. Calgary over Hamilton, who saw that coming? The Edmonton Winnipeg spread was a closer one there. So, mistakes were made last week. And so that puts Trey at 41-32, you at 40-33. So you're both doing very well against the spread this year. I'm at 35-38, which means I'm going to need 2 big weeks to end us off here at the end of the season to hopefully get to 500. And the over-under, Adam, you went 4-0 last week, which might have been the second week in a row you've done that.
Yeah, just dumb luck. I can't say anything else about it because honestly, most times when I pick my over-under, I'm like, let's go over on this one, or let's go under. Unless it's something real crazy, I pretty much almost flip a coin.
It's like you actually do flip a coin every week. The coin went 3-1 straight up money line last week. I went 3-1 over under. Trey went 3-1 on the season. Trey and I are both at 39, 35, and 1, so above 500 there. And with your 4-0 week, that puts you 2 games back of 500 at 36, 38, and 1. So we got to hopefully get these right this week because we're down to the final 2 weeks of the season. Let's kick it off with our first game of the week, which is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at home. Big game for them in that West playoff race. Meaningless game for the Riders, who are resting a bunch of the starting unit. The Bombers are 8-point favorites at home. 48.5 the over-under in this game. Your thoughts on this one, Adam?
Well, this one here again, I've been screaming trap game the whole time, and I guess I got to honor my screaming a little bit here. I really do believe that this could be a trap game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The games that the Bombers should win easily are the games they have the most difficulty with, and that's what it's been for a very long time in Winnipeg. So you know what? There could be a tale of two Zach Colaroses. Usually, when he is in a game that he's kind of like thinking that they should easily win, he ends up going and opening up a bakery and throwing a pile of turnovers. So you know what? It's hard to say what could happen in this one here. I hope that Hogan has finally realized that he needs to run Brady Oliveira quite a bit in order to get this offense going. On the defensive side of the football, Winnipeg has always still been a team that could be beaten deep. And Jake Maier does like throwing the football deep if he gets a chance, arguably.
I mean, he did at one point in his career.
Yeah, well, you never know. He did have quite a few throws there that time when he played. Who did he play there? That one game that he was in for the Riders.
I forget, but I know in his last season in Calgary, I think every pass went 6 yards and no further than that. It was the Matt Nichols special.
Yeah, but that being said, I think that maybe, you know what, might be time for the offensive coordinator in Saskatchewan to start learning a new playbook, like, actually make a throw further than 10 yards. But he did do it a little bit last week with Trevor Harris. I think Harris allegedly had a shoulder injury of some sort for a while there, and he played through it. So good on him. But you know what? I'm going to go with the Riders this week just to at least cover. I don't know if they're going to win this game, in all honesty. I think Winnipeg really needs this one, and they know it. And I'm going to go with the over on this one here because it really doesn't take a whole lot of points to all of a sudden get over in this one at 48.5. And the coin is going to go with, Colin's going with the home team, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Trey agreed with
you to Winnipeg because of that.
It's getting left at home. Trey,
even though it's a member of the staff, it's not coming for the staff.
Staff meeting. Yeah, staff is a very loose term, folks.
Very, very loose term.
Very loose term. Trey is going with Saskatchewan as well, but he is taking the under in this matchup. I'm going to go with the Riders also. I think 8-point spread. Looking at the lineup for Saskatchewan, it's not that big of a difference to me. Like, yes, there are a lot of receivers resting, but yes, they have some insane depth at wide receivers. So I'm not too concerned. I think they keep it close enough. I can see Winnipeg still winning this one in a close matchup here, but 8 points, I'm not confident in that. So give me the Riders to cover. Over under, I'm kind of leaning towards the same way as you. Like, I could see this being like a 25-17 Winnipeg win, which would be 42 points. And yeah, that would be the under, but also like that's like 1 or 2 scores away from just being over, and crazy things can happen. And, maybe Saskatchewan's defense isn't quite solid with some of the pieces that are sitting out. Give me the over, just because, like you said, the line is so low at 48.5 compared to some of the other games this week.
I should also throw out that there should be a prop bet in this one here as well. What's the chances of somebody getting an ejection?
103%.
What's that?
103%.
I would say so. It depends on the referee too. I mean, if it's Tom Valesi, he guaranteed he's grabbing somebody and throwing some green jersey out of the crowd. Probably. But that's not the point.
All right, second game, Edmonton visiting BC. The Lions 5.5-point favorites at home here against the Elks. Crucial game in the West Division race here. BC is currently second in the West at 9-7. They have the tiebreaker over Calgary. Edmonton is last at 7-9. A loss, I think, puts them pretty close to out of contention, if I'm not mistaken here. I think, yes, it would, because they don't have the tiebreaker over the Bombers anymore. So it's a must-win for them. And it is BC's trying to lock up that home playoff game. 56.5, the over-under on this game. I'll go first here. Yes, it's a different Edmonton team than years past, but I'm not going to bet against Nathan Rourke and Edmonton actually being able to stop that offense when nobody else has been. Like, when we talk about matchup proof, the BC Lions offense seems to be matchup proof this year. So if the line was 9 or 10, I would be a little more skeptical, but I like 5.5 for this team coming off the bye. Give me the Lions to cover the spread, and 56.5 is tough because I go under on almost every Edmonton game, but I go over on almost every BC game. So something is going to have to give here. I don't know. Convince me one way or another here which one I should take for the over-under, Adam.
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the over, and that the only reason on this is because BC's been scoring a heck of a lot of points, and Cody Fajardo looks pretty good. So it could turn into an old-fashioned shootout, although I don't think it will. I think BC's going to walk on this one here eventually, and it's more than a touchdown it's going to be by. So give me the BC Lions. Give me the over on this game. And let's see what the coin says before you go and choose your over-under there, Ryan. Coin is a very brave man. It's going to go with the Edmonton Elks. It says that the hopes and dreams of Edmonton are still going to be alive after this week. And hey, you know what? A Winnipeg loss and a Edmonton win puts Edmonton in the spot for the playoff spot right off the bat for the crossover. So yeah, anything can happen.
There's a way we can finish with a 4-team tie at 9-9, and I want that to happen so bad.
All the chaos.
Like, I want all the chaos from that. You're going to go with the over on this one, hey? And you know what? Trey also took the over. Interestingly, he took Edmonton. That's not too surprising because Trey is typically somebody who isn't as bought in on the BC Lions as most others are. So
that's an understatement.
It's not surprising that he's taking Edmonton to cover. And I see a scenario where they do. Over under, BC I think could easily score 30, but can Edmonton score 27 in that scenario? I'm going to go under. I'm going under on this one. I'm taking a risk of, I know you didn't convince me good enough, I guess, Adam, because at 57 points, the Elks don't score a whole ton every single game. So they're usually hovering under that 30 mark, and I'll take that.
Yeah, no, I could see why. I mean, I could see an argument for both sides. Richard over in the chat, he says that BC covers the over almost by themselves. You know what? I've seen that before too with BC, so you never know what could happen. But honestly, Edmonton, you're right. They have been playing a little bit better in defense, especially. So I could see them honestly giving BC a little bit of a run, but it's still going to be over a touchdown win for the Lions.
Third game of the week, a rematch, which makes it tough for betting as well. Montreal, 9.5-point favorites on the road in Ottawa. 9.5-point underdogs. Tyree Adams starting for Ottawa. They're playing for next year at this point. Montreal is 2 points back of the Ticats, who are on a bye this week. So Montreal would need to win this week over Hamilton. I think Hamilton has the tiebreaker, so they would need to win next week, and they would need the Ticats to lose to Ottawa in order to finish first. So it's a little bit of a tough sell for Montreal to finish first in the East, but I think it's still doable. What are you thinking about this matchup?
You know what, Ottawa, they looked uninspired almost last week when they played. I thought that it was probably one of their poorest games of the season, to be honest with you. Yeah, they got a little pressure on Davis Alexander, hit him once, took him out for until the half was over. But other than that, I didn't really see much that gave me any confidence in the Ottawa Red Blacks really making this a competitive game. So I'm going to take the Montreal Alouettes, even a -9.5. And yes, last week, didn't I take them in what? Was it 18 or some crazy number?
13.5 last week.
13.5, was it? Okay. I took the Montreal Alouettes and I got it. So that was as crazy as that one sounds. The over-under at 51.5. That's a tough one. You know what? I'm going to go with the under on this game here just because, again, I don't see Ottawa scoring a whole pile of points, especially with a rookie. I should say a veteran rookie quarterback because he has been in the team for a very long time and has been sitting on the field studying that playbook on the sidelines since the day he's got there. So he's seen it a lot. So he should know how to run the plays and everything else. That being said, it still takes some adjustment when you're on the game and on seeing live bullets. So, you know what? Montreal Alouettes, I'm going to take the under, and let's see what the coin takes. It's going to take the Montreal Alouettes.
Montreal Alouettes. And let's make it Montreal across the board. Trey took Montreal as well. Trey took the over on this game. I'm going to agree with you, Adam. Go Montreal and the under. Davis Alexander's 6 starts this season. They have won by an average of 14.7 points in those 6 starts. So I don't see any reason that doesn't continue. I thought Ottawa could keep it close last week with Crum at the helm, who I truly believe in is the best quarterback on the team and is worth a starting job potentially next year. I'm excited to see Tyree Adams, but I'm not as excited to see him in the lineup as I am for a Dustin Crum-led offense. And I know I'm higher on Crum than most, but his mobility and his ability to pull off those comebacks is very exciting to see. So, yes, normally I take the split on a home-and-home series. I just can't see that happening this time around. Like, Davis Alexander will lose a game at some point in his career. I just don't think it's this week. So give me Montreal. But again, Ottawa doesn't score a ton of points. So even if Montreal scores 30, I don't know if Ottawa's scoring 20 in that case. So I'll take the under with you on that one as well.
Oh, sounds good.
We've got Toronto and we got Calgary then as the final game of the week. The Stamps, 9.5-point favorites at home. They're tight in that West race as well. They're currently third in the West at 9-7, tied with BC and 2 points up on Winnipeg. They do have the tiebreaker over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So if they end up tied, the only way Winnipeg can actually pass Calgary, I think, is if they end up in a 3 or a 4-way tie or something like that. But even then, they might be last. So Calgary's pretty confidently not crossing over if they make the playoffs. They haven't even secured a playoff spot necessarily yet. And they had a big convincing win last week over the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and they got to keep that going this week. Is it Jarrett Daggy? Is it Tucker Horn? Who knows? Does it matter this week? What are you thinking about this game?
This game here, let's face it matters for one team and nothing for the other team, essentially. They know their season's over. They're playing for jobs. This is the last week for them to prove it, though. I got to give them that. But that being said, I don't see very much of a challenge here. It's going to be Tucker Horn. I'm pretty certain of that one. just because I think that Jared Day did take quite a few bangs there up against the Rough Riders last week. But no, Calgary's going to win this one here. It's at home for Calgary. Everything's going right for them right now. They had a very good game against a very good Hamilton Tiger Cats team. So, you know what? That should be confidence boosting. It's getting into the playoff time here. Dedrick Mills needs to run the ball a lot more. And you know what? Calgary's going to win this game on a touchdown to Malik Henry, who's going to come back and win this one here for the Calgary Stampeders, sending them to the playoffs. So give me Calgary. Give me the over on this game here. I think both teams are going to actually throw the ball quite a bit, make quite a bit of runs, and Calgary is probably going to get a lot of points. Toronto gets some. I don't know if it'll be a lot. Yeah, 52.5. That's quite a bit. Maybe I'm going to go with the under, actually, on this one, now that I'm thinking about it. So give me Calgary. Give me the under and the coin. Oops, that was a terrible flip. There we go. Yeah, the coin is going also with the Calgary Stampeders this week. And by the way, listen to the coin. It's 4-0. It knows what it's talking about.
I don't think it went 4-0 last week, did it?
Wasn't it? I'm sure the coin went 4-0.
3-1. 3-1. So it did better than me. Well, it did better than all of us, but we bet spread.
Coin was pretty darn good, I can tell you that.
Ooh, do I want to go with Toronto in the upset here? It's kind of tempting because I'm not sold on Calgary as a team. I think last week's dominant win over Hamilton was them facing a Hamilton team that does not know how to play run defense and is not going to go anywhere in the playoffs until they learn how to play run defense. I saw Doug Brown from the Bombers commentary team call Hamilton the least threatening or least scary division leader in CFL history or something like that. And that might be a bit hyperbole, but I kind of feel the same thing about the Ticats right now, is they're not that scary. And their run defense is a problem. And that's why Calgary played so good last week, was they ran all over them. I'm not sure they run all over this Argos run defense necessarily. So I can't trust Calgary to win by 9.5 points. I'm sorry. You know, Saskatchewan should have done it last week against Toronto. They only won by 8. So give me Toronto to cover the spread here again. And I'm going to take the over, though, and say some points will be scored in this game. Somebody's got to have the contrarian pick on this one. And general rule of thumb for me, in most scenarios, when it's a big spread, pick the underdog to cover.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Do you want to run through fantasy updates?
Sure. CFL Fantasy League updates. It's, well, you can talk first because you're the commissioner of the league where you have notable things to talk about.
Absolutely. We got the finals going on in the CFL Podcast Fantasy League. Yours truly, the commissioner of the league, and all that is great. I'm trying to really butter myself up because I'm really worried about this week. I made it to the finals somehow. I still am yet to figure that one out. Managed to beat Greg from the Piffles podcast last week. Actually had the highest score of the week. Also, I had over 100 points, which is probably an accomplishment, I guess, on its own, because there wasn't very many scores that were over 100 points. Just because, you know, BC wasn't playing. That being said, I made it through, and the CFL Outsiders, the old man shouting at clouds, as he calls themselves, made it into the finals, taking out Rouge Radio Adults in a rookie matchup. Both of them are actually CFL Podcast Fantasy League rookies.
Not quite. Daltz has been in the league for a few years. This was his first time making the playoffs.
Okay. Well, I kind of muddled that one up anyways. Yeah, so, but it is actually a rookie, old man shouting at clouds for the CFL Outsiders. He is in the finals, beat Daltz by about 3 points, I think it was, somewhere around there. Really did very well for a first year. So kudos to him. We did both name which charities we are going to be giving to if we happen to win, or whoever happens to win. I almost feel bad if I actually win this one in a way. The old man shouting at clouds is going to be going to the Okanagan Simoline Neurological Society Child and Youth Development Center, kind of in tribute to a family member. Unfortunately, that's really sad to hear. And very touching story he had there. I'm going to go to the Canadian Football Fans Fight Cancer. Again, they do great work as well. And I think they've raised, if I look right, I think it was just over $25,000 already, well before Grey Cup week starts. So those guys have been doing great. And I hope to add a little bit more to that. Not much. It's still a little, but everything helps. $350 is on the line this year for the Podcast Fantasy League. Once again, thank you. If anybody of the other podcast guys are listening right now or gals are listening, thank you very much again for participating. It's always great to get the Canadian football podcast crew all together for one little bit to have a little bit of fun. And boy, it was fun being your commissioner this year. I'll probably get voted out as commissioner next year, especially if I end up winning the thing.
Oh, so, yeah, I'm starting that. I'm starting that vote. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I made you co-commissioner, so
you've done a bang-up job, Adam. But good luck to you in the finals. Good luck to Old Man Shouting at Clouds from the CFL Outsiders as well, and should be a good matchup in the finals there. While you're on the topic of CFL Fans Fight Cancer, I do recommend for anybody planning to be in Winnipeg for Grey Cup weekend on Saturday, November 15th, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Tavern United, downtown Winnipeg, is the CFL Fans Fight Cancer Grey Cup meet and greet event. And it's a huge, basically the main event for this going on. And I will be there. I'm hoping to be there and try to get involved and help out in some way if I can. So if you're going to be in Winnipeg for Grey Cup week, come stop by there for a good cause and come say hi.
Yeah, it's a fun event. I know I was at the one when it was in Saskatchewan here. We had I think it was at the Canadian Brew House. And for some reason, they got me to live auction. Poor guys, I know. But you know what? It's a fun time. It's great to get it together and meet all the other CFL fans that all come in for the Grey Cups. By all means, yeah, check it out if you get a chance. Definitely.
Absolutely. In our Discord Fantasy League, the finals is this week as well. Josh M beats Brandon in the semifinals. No Good Noverby beats Waldo. So now we have number 1 seed versus number 2 seed in the finals going head-to-head, a juggernaut matchup. Good luck to both of them. They've both had fantastic seasons, and I hope we see some high scores this week. And get your popcorn ready, folks. Congrats on great seasons to everybody playing in our Discord community this year who continue to elevate one another with their lineup choices every week. Another shout out, check out the Discord, link in the episode description to join that.
Also, you did forget to mention though, Ryan, you did miss the real important one in the Discord Fantasy League.
I missed nothing.
No. It meant everything to me. Me and Ryan have been going, I beat him the first time. No, that wasn't good enough. So I beat him a second time. No, we'll have a playoff and we'll decide who the people's champion are. So then I beat him the third time. Then he wanted to do best 2 out of 3. So I beat him again, just because, you know what? It's fun beating Ryan. And that's mainly because Ryan, is going to give you his A game and you got to make sure you're the best. So if you can beat Ryan, you've done pretty well. And I will proudly proclaim myself the people's champion.
All right, I got one final challenge for you, Adam, if you're willing to willing to put it all on the line.
Well, seeing as Saturday we won't know the whole results. Otherwise, we could have did the meal on there, but no, guess we can't.
See, take this week out of it. Week 21 is the fun little crapshoot week of CFL fantasy when half the teams are resting people for the playoffs if things are locked in. Head-to-head matchup, yeah, sure, you can have the People's Championship crown. But let's see, week 21, when it comes to those diamonds in a rough, let's see if I can finally best you in that matchup.
Okay. We'll go with week 21 and we'll see what can happen here. I don't know. That could be just, that's the league. That's the week that they go and they switch the league of name from the Canadian Football League to the Chaos Fantasy League.
That's my favorite fantasy week of the year.
Oh, it's fun. Oh, yeah.
In our private draft league, it's down to the final week. Week 20 is where we wrap it up because of that chaos final week of the CFL season. And coming into the final lap of the race, I am in first place with 1,899.4 points. Trey is 41 points back in second place, so he's got a 41-point deficit to make up in the final week. Adam, you've been Playing pretty well lately. I think that's, let's see, since week 14, you've scored over 100 points every single week. Maybe just a little too late for you. But you're 60 points back of Trey with a really good week. If he has a bad one, maybe you find your way to second place there. And Mike, unfortunately, out of it, he's about 60 points back of you. So final week there, I left myself in a little bit of a pickle because Bo Levi Mitchell was really my only good starting quarterback left on my roster, and he's on a bye this week. I dropped Trevor Harris because I didn't think he was going to play. And I mean, I still don't think he's going to play. I had Dustin Crum as my fail safe, but he's not starting. And Trey picked up Tyree Adams. So I guess I'm starting either Jake Mayer on Friday night or Tucker Horn on Saturday as my QB this week as I try to maintain that 40-point lead. And Adam, once again, if you can please bring the crown when you come to Winnipeg tomorrow, that would be great.
No, not a problem. I'll make sure I give it to Trey when we get there. So.
Oh, get out of here.
Honestly, you know what? I'm kind of the official Edmonton Elks of the podcast or of our podcast league, because if I would have just started on time, I would have had pretty much this wrapped. But a little late to the party this year, and it's going to cost me. But I definitely made some moves potentially for next year. We'll see what I do with them. But you'll see them later on, Ryan.
Yeah, we got to talk about those because you made an illegal move. So we'll talk about that as soon as the show ends. But nonetheless, let's get into wrapping things up here today. We will be back again next week, week 21 preview. So look forward to that. If you need to make fantasy decisions for the final week of the season, we will have you covered because that is the toughest week of the year. We'll do our betting picks next week as well. In the meantime, check out the Discord. You can also follow us on social media at CF Countdown Pod or Facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod. That's the handle kind of everywhere: Blue Sky, X, Facebook, etc. Check out all the other great shows from around the CF Pod Network at CF Pod Network on X, Alternative Football Network shows as well at the official AFN on X or alternativefootballnetwork.com. I know there's been a lot going on throughout that community with the whole UFL team changeover going into next season, a couple of teams relocating and rebranding and all that interesting stuff going on there. So some fun shows you can check out, alternativefootballnetwork.com. Adam, where can people find everything you've got going on?
Well, your best bet is probably just head over to the Discord channel. Talk to me over there at CFC Adam if you notice me over there. Most times that's where I'm hanging out, especially with sports talk right now. Mainly watching Trey usually pull his hair out, watching Major League Baseball. Me and Ryan are pretty much just doing the ultimate troll job. We're totally Seattle Mariners fans now. So, yeah.
Anyway. Wait, when did you join the good side?
You know what? I figured, after the 2-0 lead and everything else leaving Toronto, this series is over. I may as well get on the right side and cheer my way into the Mariners history books and watch them make the World Series for the first time ever. Don't ask me what the score is tonight. Anyways, you can find me out there. If you can look at me also at Farmer in Sask over on the Instagram is mostly where I am. Sometimes I'm over on the Twitter as well, or the X, I guess is the new kids call it. You know what? You can find me there also at Adam Stewart 1. Like I said, I'm looking forward to anybody that wants to give me any fantasy advice. I probably have my team locked in, but you know what? I'll take some advice. Free advice is always free, and I will gladly hear it over on the Discord or send me on Twitter or X, I guess. Whatever works.
Or find us at the whatever restaurant we're at tomorrow.
Yeah, the anonymous restaurant on Saturday, I guess.
Yeah,
or on Friday. We didn't say which day.
Saturday. We'll give them that hint as well. They can't pick every restaurant. It's fine. Hopefully.
And you know what? There's a big crowd waiting for us with a banner. We'll gladly take it.
Now I got to edit that all out of it. I'm not going to do that. How many hours, you got a long drive to Winnipeg. How many hours of Machine Gun Kelly will you be listening to on the drive in preparation for the Grey Cup halftime show?
Exactly 0, I think, Ryan.
Okay.
The answer exactly 0, because honestly, I've tried listening to some of his music just after they announced it. I'm like, I've never heard one of these songs in my life. Our Lady Peace, I will listen to maybe one or two of their songs on the way, though. They're the pregame show act for the Grey Cup. So, yeah, I'll listen to a few of theirs. Machine Gun Kelly, though, likely nothing.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. That does it for today. Whatever podcast platform you're listening on, you can find me at Cooper Trooper 42 if you want. There we go. Forgot to mention that one on X and Blue Sky. Trey at Trey MB Harness, Mike at Mike Garrow on X as well. Going back to what I was saying, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, we appreciate. Do all the fun things. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends. Help us grow the show. We always appreciate that. On behalf of Adam, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.